Welcome, welcome to Seasparkles Corner, and welcome. It is the 4th of July, and since we're celebrating the 10th anniversary of Seasparkles Corner, I wanted to talk with you about my total life history of cruising and what cruise lines we went on, and what cruise lines exist, what ships we went on, and what ships we did not go well, and what ships, cruise lines no longer exist. And as far as I know, what happened to those ships. Okay, our first cruise, we're going way, way back. There used to be a cruise line called the Big Red Boat. They had two ships in their fleet. One was called the Oceanic, the other one was called the Atlantic. And we went on both of them. We did, one was the Bahamas cruise we went on, which was the Atlantic, and 4 days. Me, my husband was living at the time, and our children. We had an absolute wonderful time. We got the biggest room on the place, except the en suite we weren't allowed. We got it, so I didn't want my kids to be in bunk beds, and I didn't want my husband and I to have to be on the top bed for our kids to be on the bottom bed. So we bought a room where all the beds were on the bottom. And they had, the room was huge. There was lots of storage space and dressers. It was bigger than a hotel. This was the Atlantic we went on. I don't remember the name of the room. But, okay. We had a wonderful time. They were very good to us. I can't remember the name of the room either. And it was just, the room was huge. Huge. And they didn't have separate doors and whatnot. They had set up, like, across the room, drapes you would pull between the beds. So my kids had their own separate beds, and so did I. And every night we had chocolates on the pillows. And when we boarded the cruise, up the ramp was red carpet. I remember that really well. That was really nice. So I thought at that time that all the ramps had carpets on them. I didn't know the employees literally rolled out the red carpet for us. So it was nice. We went on that multiple times. We went to Bahamas. We went to a place called Port Lacaya. The Big Red Boat was the only one that went there. That was on the Oceanic. So we went to different islands. And there was no place for the ships to dock. I remember that, because this was a long time ago. My children were little then. And so we went on what was called the Little Red Boat, which was almost like a tether, but it was actually a boat. It came out of the side of the ship. One did, and the other ones stayed in port there, because they had multiple cruise lines there, so they were always going there. So one time we didn't do a side trip. We just decided to hire someone to show us to what we wanted to do when we went to Port Lacaya. I wanted to go the shore, excursion. And I wanted to buy a Port Lacaya shirt for all of us, which since then had cracked and worn out, so we threw it out, because that was a very long time ago. And at that time, I wasn't collecting t-shirts with the names of the ships on, and I wasn't collecting the pictures with the circles on it. Okay, now, next time, on one of our cruises, okay, on one of our cruises, we decided to treat my mother to a cruise. We paid for the whole thing, me and my husband. It was like a birthday present to her. So we asked her what cruise line she wanted to go on. She said she wanted to go on Carnival, and she wanted to go on the ship called the Fantasy. Oh, okay. That's when I learned that there wasn't, ramps going up to the ships didn't have red carpet on it. Because they didn't. And we went on there, and we had this one big room on there with bunk beds in it for me, my mother, and all my kids. They had one big room with bunk beds around the sides and at the end. And a small, very small bathroom where if you wanted to shave your legs, you'd have to do it out in the room. Okay, with a small shower, which my husband wasn't too thrilled with it because he said there was barely enough room for him to move and clean himself in the shower, and my kids. Because we were used to going on the big red boat, and we were used to going on in suites. Okay, but it was literally, you know, it was what it was. But we managed to make do. And there was no closet space in the room. So we left the clothes in it was like a big empty room we were in with just bunk beds and a bathroom. And so we left the clothes. So my kids, that's what are we supposed to do, Mom? Aren't we supposed to unpack? Because that's what they were used to. And so, let me check and make sure it's still going. All right. So, I told we'll just leave the clothes in the luggage and push it under the bed. And then, the night before, I brought in a laundry bag, and I said, we'll put all of our change of clothes on the laundry bag, in the laundry bag, and then we get up in the morning, we'll get changed, and we'll put all of our dirty laundry in this laundry bag to take home. And my mother brought an overnight bag for her to put her things in. Okay, the food was good. The service in the dining room was good. And the shows were good. One night they lit their heads was on fire with sparklers on top of them as we were being served. I remember that. And we were going to play a game called Stinko Bingo, which everybody had to buy 1 or 2 cards. It wasn't free. And during the middle of it, we heard this arguing on a floor. I'm telling you, my kids, my mother and I, we were all playing bingo. The kids loved bingo when they were little. We didn't win anything, okay? We didn't win. Stinko Bingo is when everybody plays, when their cards are full, you raise your hand when your cards get filled. The last one to fill the card is the winner of that particular game. They get one, everybody got one souvenir with something with Carnival on it, a mug or something like that, as whatever they decided to do. Okay, we didn't win anything, but we were having fun together as a family, and then we were doing it on the upper decks, the pool deck. And so, we heard arguing in a foreign language, 2 people, and they were literally fighting, and they were employees of Carnival. And they literally were fighting so bad that they ended up falling over the edge of the top of the ship. My kids were getting traumatized. I remember this. Oh, it was terrible. And I was so upset that this was happening in front of my children. They were little at the time, and like you all can identify with me, most parents were. And so I said, let's all forget about this and let's try to find him. So me and my kids and my family all went over there, and an employee stood beside me, and I saw a barber going up and down. So they took a ship outside the little fantasy, came out, and I told them, I said, there's one of them there on that barber. The barber was going up and down, and I told the employee, she said, thanks, and I'll get it. And they took out a ship. Then we had to turn around and go back to Freeport, and where an ambulance was waiting for the 2 of them, and they waved to us and said, don't worry, the employees are going good. The person lied and said they had to respond to a man overboard. They didn't say, and we never met the cruise director. Understand this, on Carnival we never met the cruise director, but on the Big Red Boat we always knew the cruise director, and we knew the employees, and it was much better environment. My children didn't get traumatized like that. and they were so upset because it was so young at the time. And so, we were all eating in the dining room, the dishes started rattling and everything. And so, we turned around and went to the Freeport out of our way. And then we ended up back in Miami early that day, and I said, look, if the reporters were there, I was going to tell them. And that night, my children were so upset, I had to comfort them, like any good parent would. Because they never saw anything like that and never heard anything like that in their life. Especially employees of cruise line that are supposed to be professionals, and you're not supposed to have trauma on vacation. Needless to say, I never went back on Carnival again. They said everybody on the ship would get $5 off the next cruise. But back then, cruises were only $400 or $500, so they were very inexpensive. And we went through a cruise agency and paid monthly payments on the cruise. Okay. Needless to say, I haven't forgot it. I have not forgotten it. And I never can. Okay. But everything else was fine on there. And I told the cruise director what happened. And so he asked me, did you want to go back on it? I said, never. I said, I want to go to a different place. So he found me a cruise line called Dolphin Cruise Lines. And I reserved a Eastern and Western cruise vacation for us for when my husband got time off for his vacation, because it would be 2 weeks. 1 week when he got leave, because my husband was career Army. God rest his soul. So that we would go on the Eastern Caribbean and the Western Caribbean. And what I did was, I would have my mother watch our pets, because we had dogs at the time. And I would pay her the money. Whatever the boarding fee would be at the vet, I would give it to her to help her out, cash under the table, to give her a little extra spending money, on the condition that my dogs were okay. Because we had 2 at the time. Blackie and Midnight and Scraps, and we had 3. And so we left them all dearly, God rest their soul. They all died of old age for a dog. Okay, so we went on Dolphin Cruise Line, and we got a nice big suite for us. It was actually, I can't remember the name of the cruise ship, but in this case, the kids had a bedroom, and my husband and I had a bedroom, and we had a big room, and we had a bathtub. Oh, I was so grateful. And so we thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. The food was good, the entertainment was good. But after a while, Dolphin and Big Red Boat merged, and now neither one of them exist. And so, okay, moving further along, and everything like that. What you see me doing is checking the battery usage. Okay. And then I found, when we were heading on to the Dolphin, picking up in Miami, I saw a cruise ship there called the Norway. And it had big letters on it, it was called the Norway. And so I thought to myself, did that ship come from Norway? No. So I don't know. So when we got back, I asked our cruise director, can you tell me about the cruise ship called the Norway? I said, that's with Norwegian Cruise Line. I said, that was in Miami. I said, I loved the outside of the ship. It was so beautiful. I said, can you get us on it for our next vacation? We had no complaints at all about Dolphin Cruise Line, and was actually sad that they had passed on. And I got T-shirts for all of us in all the ports we went to. And the Western Caribbean, we did the history of the Western Caribbean with them, and I wasn't too thrilled with the side trip. They said they took us to a place that had the best bathroom. I think it was Cancun we were in, And so we went to there to go shopping, looked for shirts, and I had to use the restroom. There was no toilet seats on the toilet. The doors didn't lock. So all of us ladies who went in there to use it, after spending the day, I went there because I wanted to see this old city on the water that was nowhere else it was, to see it, and they had the red hands and all that. We weren't allowed to go in any of the buildings, but a lot of the people did. They said they paid good money for it, and we were going in. And we got some souvenirs. My son got a souvenir t-shirt with, well, some old Indian writing and pictures on it. And my kids picked out what they wanted. Okay, so we weren't buying any t-shirts in the big store because we went to the small stores by the different, where we went on the different side trips on the history of the Western Caribbean or something like that. I can't remember the name of it. And so when we went on that, so the other ladies had to hold the door, and they said there's no toilet seats on there. And we were horrified. No toilets with the toilet seats on there. The bathroom was pretty. And I went in person and asked, why was there no toilet seats and why weren't they locked in the bathroom door? And they all looked at each other. Toilet seats? Now, I don't know if that was a scam or an act or they actually didn't know what toilet seats were. I'm just telling you what I remember as the most prevalent. The shows were good and everything like that. And so everything was wonderful. The food was good. On the cruise line, when we were on Dolphin, we didn't eat in any of the dining rooms. The kids just said, let's go to the all-you-can-eat buffets for every time. So that was what they wanted because it was just my husband, my kids, and myself. So we went on to all the buffets. And each night the buffets had a specialty thing. So the kids basically picked what they wanted. It was what they wanted. So we all agreed beforehand. So we all would sit down at the table and decide what we were going to do on a vacation together. And we all picked the side trips together. And when that was, at that point, we were picking the side trips on the ship. Okay? On each of the ships. And if we decided to get the side trip on the ship, we're just doing off land. So that's the way it was, because then it was very inexpensive and cheap and what we wanted to do. So, but the side trip for the Western Caribbean, when we went to the island on the water, I can't remember the name of the side trip, that was pre-done in advance, because that was the side trip I wanted to go to. I wanted to see the old Indian buildings. I wanted to see them and everything, so I wanted to see the city on the water. That was what I wanted. Okay, we're now getting up to, oh, this was all in the 80s because my kids were all born in the 80s, and they were essentially kids in the 80s and 90s. So 1980s and 90s, my son David was born January 30th, 1980. So from then on, it was after that. Okay, so and you've seen my kids on video, so you know them. All right. So we're now getting up to 1987, 1988. And we are picking on going on the Norway, my dream ship. I went on there because I heard there was a spiral staircase on there, and I always wanted to go on there, and I loved it. I loved it. It was, the decorations, I believe, were like old-fashioned type of thing and royal British style type thing, I would call it. And the spiral staircase was gorgeous. It was everything I'd hoped for, and I walked up and down the spiral staircase. That was what I wanted to do, and the room was huge. It was beautiful. We were comfortable, and that was where the red carpet, where no, they didn't do the red carpet. Okay, and we did the shows, and we ate, and Norway was different. They had a first-class dining room. We ate in that. They didn't have specialty restaurants at that time, and they did have a buffet, but I remember this well. They had one night, they had all-you-could-eat chocolate buffet. That was one of the things I wanted. And all the food was chocolate in it. Don't ask me how, but it was all delicious. We went to that buffet, because I kind of got hungry, and they said they have an all-you-can-eat chocolate buffet on there. It was like 10 o'clock at night or something like that, so we went up there with the kids and everything. But then I was going to go up there because I got hungry, and my kids were sleeping, and my husband was sleeping, and so it was like 10 o'clock at night from the activities of the day. So I got up there, went by myself, got dressed, went by myself, and went to the buffet. And it was wonderful. And at that time, I didn't take the pictures with the balls. We all know how the Norway tragically ended, and the tragic loss of life. We were sad. And that happened a few weeks, a while after. And then I learned after that we could contact Norwegian Cruise Line Direct to make that. So from that point on, we were going on only Norwegian. Dolphin was gone. The big red boat was gone. And Carnival, I had a terrible experience on. That literally traumatized me, so I couldn't go back on that cruise line. And so I found Norwegian, and I was with them ever since. This was the beginning. I could look on my, latitudes page to see. No, it doesn't, when our first cruise ship was down. Then we went back and we decided to do the Eastern Caribbean again, and we wanted to go to a place called Grand Bahama Island, and the only one that was going there was a ship called the Norwegian Sea. And so we went on that the next time and had the best time. The room was big, and we went on to a dining room, and there was no reservation required. Freestyle dining I was introduced to. And that's when I started getting the pictures of the ships with the names on it. And here it is, the picture of me and my son. And together, because on the Norwegian Sea, on that cruise ship, my husband was sick, and so we decided to have a mother and son cruise. So my other kids and